Hello. Hi, Lisa and Kelly. So excited to be here. And I wanted to bring up this topic today. We're going to kind of have more of a conversation around this topic instead of just me kind of going on and on about one particular topic for a bit before Kelly and Lisa chime in. So this is going to be a little bit of a different format. And the topic that I want to really dive into today is just the concept of retirement and what that looks like, what that means, how people let that drive their day to day, how people let that drive what they're going to be doing each day, the mundane cycle that ends up following suit, and just I don't know. I feel like so over the weekend, this all stemmed from a conversation I was having with Lisa and Kelly yesterday about just different conversations that happen around the kitchen table or wherever out to dinner about how so many people are just waiting for retirement. They are living each day, they are showing up to their job that they don't necessarily love and counting days to retirement. And that really hit me because I don't really want to live that way. I want to have and I don't feel that I am living that way at the moment. But I remember a time in my not so distant past where I was living like that. And I was like, okay, how many doing the backwards math, like how many more years do I have of this life before I can really do what I want? So when Lisa and Kelly and I started talking about this, just I feel like you guys understood exactly what I was saying when I was talking about all these conversations happening and how I was feeling that way too. And it just brought up some really great conversation on the topic. So I don't know if you guys want to just kind of chime in with, anything related to retirement or that kind of whole thought process, if that's been something that you've recognized in yourself or others and how you've really, handled those discussions. I could tell you, I didn't say anything. I was there observing the conversation, but in terms of chiming in, I didn't even feel like I had much to say about it at that moment, but it gave me a lot to think about.
But don't you think, Sarah, that it's one of these things that we don't really, I mean, when we talk about it, we're talking about it as a surface conversation. Like, I've got so many years to retirement and I've got plans, and people are talking about it like that, as if they don't really have a choice. It is like, boom,
Yeah.
I've got 20 years left to go in the system, and then we're going to do this, that, the other thing. And I think what kind of fascinates me is that we have more choices than we are allowing our brain to accept. And I think that whole idea of thinking that we don't have a choice, I've just got to suck it up. I've just got to, I've got a really good pension here. And that is, there's a reason that people stay because of that income. But that's 20 years of your life if you're miserable. I think that's the point. And I think we are more and more in a generation, I don't know what the word I'm trying to think of, a culture that's saying, this is an entrepreneurial like opportunity in work clothes. You just have to figure out, what do you love to do and how can you monetize it? Because there are lots of ways, but I don't think people take the time to do the work of figuring out what they really love to do.
Yeah, so true. And I feel like, Sarah, you said something that literally gave me chills from head to toe, was that people think, I'm going to work now how many more years until I can actually live my life and actually have fun? Like, how much more time until that happens? And that just makes me sad to think about,
Hmm.
like, all of us thinking like that. Like, okay, well, I can't go on trips. I can't enjoy my life until 65, 67, whatever the age is now. Like, that's so depressing. But yeah, I feel like, Lisa, we put ourselves in a box because we don't know what else is possible, because maybe we are 5 years away from that mark. Or, I know there's a lot of teachers out there who have all said, like, well, I've already got the time in, and I just have 6 more years to go. And then but it's like, why should you ever have that sort of thought about
Have
your
you guys,
life and your future.
yeah, have you guys heard of the concept taking a mini retirement? Is that
No.
something that's come up?
Oh,
So
no, do
yes.
tell. What's the deets? Tell us.
So, okay, I'm reading this book that you guys both know about, and we're probably going to dive into in greater detail in future episodes because it's been like so awesome, and I'm only 50 pages in, but it's The 4 Hour Work Week by Tim Ferriss, and he talks about mini retirements, and basically that's just what do you want to do? And okay, so if you're talking about this retirement plan, what does that retirement plan look like? What's on your list for 10, 15, 20 years down the road? Take those little things that you want to do and just put them into your years now. Why wait?
Yes.
Take a mini
Love
retirement,
it.
do that trip that you always wanted to do. Like, plan, even if it's like with the kids, like I am in reading this book, I'm just thinking of like, okay, what do I want to do over the next 20, 30, 40 years? Okay, so what am I going to do this year that is going, instead of waiting, like what's the point in waiting? So like a mini retirement will be like a really cool trip that we want to do, like my husband and I are going to Italy in a few months, and a trip we want to take with the kids is we want to go to Iceland. So like next year we're going to plan that. And like, I don't know, just thinking a little bit more about spending like amazing time now versus just deferring all of that until this like, period in the future when your pension kicks in or whatever it is that you're waiting for.
Right.
Life
It's
is
like
meant to be lived.
Yes, and being intentional, right? If you know that that's your goal for something that you want to do with your husband and your kids, like then it requires, the commitment of, if you don't have that money in savings already, but to like make that happen together as a couple. But it's not going to happen if you don't have the conversation, right? If you don't start dreaming and living now and making those memories now, especially if anybody has the smaller kiddos, like Lisa, they're going to be out of the house before you know it, and you're going to blink. And she just went on an amazing trip with her kids, and it was fantastic. Like, I mean, you could just see the joy on Lisa's face when she came back, because it was just so amazing to create those memories. And she's not retired, and it's like you have to make that time now to do even the smallest things that, the mini retirement, to have that fulfillment every single day versus waiting till you're 65.
Right. And travel is, I think, important to a lot of people. I think that's one of the things that I think is very common amongst a lot of people. I want to be able to, have a snowbird house down in Arizona when I retire. And, I want to be able to travel, the travel trailer, taking it across the country. I think people have those desires. And for me, I remember the first time that like I had the wake up call that tomorrow isn't promised. And that was when I got my cancer diagnosis. And in that chapter of my life, I thought, we've got to take a family vacation. That was one of the very first thoughts that I had after, just accepting that this was my reality. And I didn't know if I had a year left, 6 months, 5 years, if it was going to be a good prognosis. I didn't know. But making memories was like paramount for me when I thought about that. And we went to Washington, D.C., and we had a blast. And our van was like literally plexiglass and duct taped the glass on the back of the van because it had busted and we hadn't replaced it. The latch of the van did not latch, so we had it bungee strapped. But by cracky, all 6 of us were in that van.
I love how vivid your memory is of this. Like that's how important it is. That's like
Right. Because you don't know what tomorrow will bring. You don't know. And I think, I have that experience. Many of our listeners have had that kind of life altering event in their life but then you get lulled back into the mundane. The survival,
this pays the bills.
Yes. And
Mhm.
I think it's so important for us to kind of do that own jarring of our own brain without having to have a life altering event, to just kind of shake ourselves going, am I doing what I want to do? Am I wasting my life hoping that I make it to retirement and am healthy enough to even do the things that I'm dreaming about now? Like, I love your word intentionality, Kelly, because I think that is so, so vital, because the hamster wheel, the conveyor belt that we're just like, go, 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 get up, do the same thing, and it's autopilot. We're not really living per se, because we don't have that thing that is exciting us about doing the job that we maybe don't like,
Right. And we're not even saying like, go quit your job today and figure something out. It's almost like we all need to pay the bills, like I just said, but like, what else could you be doing? That a word that kind of came up yesterday in our conversation was excites. What excites you? Like, is it ballroom dancing? Is it you've always wanted to write a book? Is it, you want to take up tennis lessons? Do you, want to start a podcast? Like, what would be something that would just light you up? So even though you may have that 8 to 5, what can you do in your nooks and crannies of your day? Because we all have the same 24 hours, but here we are taking 20, 30 minutes to bring our audience a podcast, and we've just committed to the time to each other. And we're producing something together that is absolutely incredible. And it has taken us in the wildest ways in so many directions, but it's been so fun because it's just life giving. Like, we haven't made $1 off of the three of us being together and having a podcast, but the power of us being together in this moment lights us up. It excites us, so that maybe the things that we do during the day, our day jobs or whatever, don't seem as heavy when we have something else that we're also doing that excites us, and it's
Yeah.
almost thinking about what it is. What is something that excites you? What do you want to do? You want to take a cooking
Right.
class with your kiddos?
Yeah.
Go do it. Go do it
And
once a
another
week.
thing, like I was talking about with my husband too, is like we don't want to just work until we retire, because then what? Like, what are you gonna
Then
do?
what?
Like, you're just gonna sit and
Right.
stare at
Oh
your
my gosh.
and it's like kind of like,
Mhm.
I don't want to be in this retirement phase of my life where I'm just like sitting, like figuring out what we're gonna do for our 4 o'clock early bird special dinner. Like,
I
like
Tea and crumpets.
yeah. So like I was like, how do we want to live is really the
know.
question. It's not how do you
Yeah.
want to retire? And like, what do we envision for ourselves? Like, we throw out ideas like a coffee shop, or like, bike shop, or something that's like outdoors. We get to, chat with like the locals in whatever like beach town we decide to settle on, like all of these ideas. And it's like, retirement doesn't mean all the time that you just like, are done with your job, you collect a pension, you sit home on your butt. Like, like what is retirement? Like, you can design that as well. So design your life now and design what retirement actually will look like down the road when it happens, but don't work just to get to that point. If you're working just to get to that point, then what the heck is worth it? Like the light,
Exactly.
like, you have all of this to offer, this life that you're
Yeah.
living. Like, what's
What
the
are you
point?
waking up for?
Yeah.
Right.
What's the point if you're just working for that moment?
I think about my parents, because my parents modeled what you're just talking about. When I was young, my mom did in-home daycare, and that that was, she was able to stay home with us kids and still make an income. My dad was working full time. And then when I was a sophomore in high school, my dad came home from his factory job and basically said, if you ever want to open a daycare, I found the perfect house, because you have to have 2 exits out of every level and all the things. Not every house is going to work. And they like jumped on it and they bought it. they worked their tails off all summer, and they opened 3 months later with all of the state, regulations checked off and approved. And they did that, I don't know, for 20 some years that they served.
Wow.
And they, like my mom, because she loved to sew, she would sew like quilted blankets for every single, like sleeping bags. She called them sleeping bags for every single child in the daycare. They had their cot and they would roll out their sleeping bag for their nap time. And so like they did what they loved, but then my mom knew she loved sewing, and there was this desire to like leave the headaches of, because she was the director, so of course she dealt with all the people that didn't pay their bills and all the discipline problems. It's like the principal at the school, not always the funnest, but she was like, I think I want to open a quilt shop. I love to sew, and there isn't a quilt shop within so many miles. And so again, they took a risk and they bought a house that would work as a quilt shop. And they have been doing that for the last, I don't know, 8-10 years. And like my mom is in her 70s. Both my parents are in their 70s. They're not, I mean, my dad's pseudo retired, but he's mowing lawns and doing odd jobs and playing pickleball because he loves pickleball. But I just think about them as what an example they are to like working hard, following their passion, and taking risks, because you have to take a risk. I mean, for the first 5 years, anything you do, you're not going to make money, right? I mean, on the spreadsheet, it's not going to be a huge money maker. But she's doing what she loves. She gets up and she's like, I don't think I ever want to retire because and she's only working 2-3 days a week. So she's not there every day. But when she's home, she's, putting on a binding and she's doing other things that
But she designed that. She designed what she wanted to do. And that's like, I didn't know that, Lisa, about your parents. That's like really, that must have been really cool for you just to grow up with that type of influence. Like you literally can do anything that you want. It doesn't matter. Like if it's a thought in your mind, you can make it happen. And your parents did that and showed you that. That's like so cool. Yeah.
And they probably didn't let anybody tell them that they couldn't do it, or that's a silly idea. You should go work, in an office job, or you should, just stay doing what you're doing. You're successful there. Why would you take this risk? And she knew what her passion was and what excited her every day, where her talents and gifts were and what she wanted to share with the world. And she just went for it. I think that's exactly. And I love that she said, I don't think I ever want to retire. Like
that's the job that everybody needs to go for.
That's the coolest. That's the coolest.
I mean, if that could be everybody's goal, regardless, even if you are a teacher, then love it and go all in. Or, you are a CEO and you're on the 54th floor and you are just cranking it out. Do whatever sets your soul on fire, that retirement isn't an age or a number or just when I get here, then my life will be this. And no, live it now. Like you were saying, Lisa, because you don't know what tomorrow's going to bring. Right. And just go all in, make it happen. Take the risks. Take the risk. I love that. Yes, we should interview your mama one day.
I was thinking that.
Oh, yeah.
My mom and my sister co-own the quilt shop, and I think that would be a really fun interview. Yeah.
Let's do it.
We need to make that happen.
Okay. And I do know that they listen to Wake Up and Dream. So they're probably listening right now.
Hey, mama. Hey, sis.
Love it. Love it. So this has been so fun to just dive in. I hope we've sparked some different thoughts in your brain to say, you know what? It's a choice. Like my daily existence is a choice. And if I'm not happy, I do have a choice. Like, what excites me? What lights me up? If it's not what I'm doing now, whatever that is, whether that be a job, whether that be a relationship, whether that be, your friend group, if that's not where it's at for you, take the time to really dig in. We talk about journaling all the time because we love journaling. We love it. And we found the value in it, right? It allows us to process and to really get to the bottom of our own desires, our own needs, wants, talents, gifts, all the things. So, we hope this encouraged you to seriously shake yourself a little bit and go, is this the life I want? Am I falling into that trap of I'm just going to wait, have to suck it up until retirement? Or can I create some mini vacations, create some oases in the midst of the desert, if you will, where I have something that excites me that I look forward to, so that mundane daily existence doesn't have to be such a grind. So we are so excited for what's ahead for us here at Wake Up and Dream. So look forward to telling you more in the coming episodes. But until then, we encourage you each and every time to wake up and dream.